Wilson, who's waiting on the line, is the editor of The Girl Who Was on Fire. Last week, you may remember, we had as a guest Sarah Darer Littman. This is her area of specialty, politics and torture. And I actually went and got her opinion, even though she's not on this week. I wanted to know what she thought. And she tweeted this to me. She said, while I can understand the jubilation, the sight of people cheering and singing at Osama bin Laden's death makes me very uncomfortable. Remember the outrage we feel when U.S. deaths are celebrated? The flag-waving and patriotism is understandable, but I feel misguided. So an interesting point from Sarah Darer Littman. Leah Wilson, I believe you're on the line. What do you have to say about that statement from one of your writers whom you edited?
Hey, yeah. You guys hear me?
Sorry to put you on the spot like that.
Yeah, well, no
to the
problem.
podcast.
I'm glad I've been on long enough to hear some of the conversation. I think I tend to fall on that side too. I think the celebration doesn't feel comfortable to me personally. I mean, I think in terms of emotional resonance here and in terms of the Hunger Games, I think of the death of Osama bin Laden a little bit the same way I think of Katniss's choice to kill Coin at the end of the series. And you guys may have been over this, because I only caught the last 5-10 minutes or so of conversation. But it's kind of the idea of a necessary death, and Katniss, releasing that arrow, killing Coin, because she felt like that was what she needed to do to prevent more evil in the world, not for revenge, not even for justice, but as a kind of a painful, unfortunate step that she felt that it was her responsibility to make. And I think if there are a lot of emotions, obviously, that the death of bin Laden kind of brings up, but I think for me that's where I'm settled at the moment. Kind of maybe perhaps this is a necessary thing to do, but that doesn't mean I can't bring myself to celebrate it. Just, it's there, it's done. Let's move on and do the next thing to make life as good as we can for the people who are still around.
Sure. And thank you, and I appreciate your answer, which was extremely well informed, especially for someone who I didn't even introduce properly and put on the spot. So, nice job. Savannah, since you're great at introductions, do you want to do the formal and official introduction for Leah Wilson, if there's anything I left out?
Well, okay, so Leah Wilson is the editor of The Girl Who Was on Fire, which, as Adam mentioned, is the anthology of Hunger Games-related essays that we've been talking about each week. We had Adrienne Kress on a few weeks ago. She's a contributor, as well as Sarah Darer Littman. And Leah Wilson was actually supposed to join us, I think, for our second or third podcast, but she was sick. So we're super excited that she's well again and that she was able to call in tonight. So thank you guys so much for...
Yeah, no, thank you guys so much for letting me come a couple weeks late. I was in pretty bad shape. You definitely didn't want to be talking to me that night.
Yeah, it's about time. I mean, come on already, right? We've been waiting here for all these weeks. No, I'm just.
I know. I'm sure not. Not making it.
So let me ask you a quick question here. What was it like putting together this anthology, and was there anything that stood out for you in that process?
Well, I mean, it was obviously a fantastic experience. My job in general, I'm editor-in-chief of the Smart Popper imprint at Bella Books that published The Girl Who Was on Fire. And my job's great. You get to work with fantastic writers and who are writing on topics that are, obviously Hunger Games, something that has obsessed, millions. And that's so getting to work on that kind of day in and day out is a great, great experience. I wish I kind of pulled together some talking points or something.
No, sorry. It's okay. This is very relaxed atmosphere.
Well,
don't worry.
One thing that I was wondering is how exactly was this idea? How was it incepted? Who first said, let's put together a collection of Hunger Games related essays?
Well, we've been doing these Smart Pop books for about 7 years or so, mostly on what you would normally call adult, which I would heavily put in quotation marks, topics. But a couple of years ago, we, in partnership with Borders, as Borders Exclusive, put out our first set of YA titles. It was before, I don't know if it was before the Hunger Games was published. It was pretty. It was shortly before that, I think. And we had such a great time with that and had such a great response. We thought, well, what else is out there in terms of YA that we can really kind of have people talk about, that people really think about and think about after they put the book down. And the Hunger Games obviously was a strong contender there. It was something that our publisher Glenn Yessis and I both read and both really felt strongly about. So it seemed like a no-brainer, absolutely.